This is Breaking Stereotypes, and I'm your host, Christy Ramnarine. We're switching gears this week towards period poverty, and I'm sure you would have heard the finance minister's announcement in the 2025-2026 budget that there will be a $5 million allocation towards a period poverty fund. Joining me on set to discuss this and what it means for Trinidad and Tobago is Leela Ramsing, and Leela is the founder of Share Dignity Foundation. Welcome back, Leela.
Thank you very much for having me, Christy. I appreciate it.
You know, you were on the show, was it earlier this year? I'm trying to remember.
May month.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were discussing this very topic.
Correct.
Period poverty and, you know, the work you've been doing in the country in terms of period poverty. What did you think about the finance minister's announcement during the budget?
For me, it was phenomenal news to hear that the government is taking a stance to at least have a fund in place for eliminating period poverty. It puts us now in the global landscape of a country that is moving forward for the SDGs, which is these sustainable goals for 2030. So I'm very happy to see that.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's remind our viewers what period poverty is.
I would consider period poverty is when you don't have a sanitary product to use when you are having your periods. Sometimes some people cannot afford it at all, and then you have some who didn't have a pad at the time or tampon in their purse. So there are I will say it's two ways, you know, like I forgot my handbag, my pouch with my stuff, so I didn't have it. My period came.
Yeah.
So right now I have to go and ask someone for a product
That
to use.
happens to me a lot.
Right.
And it has to do with the fact that, you know...
They change handbags.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can no longer tell when my monthlies will come because of my perimenopause journey. So, yeah, sometimes I'm not prepared, even though I remind myself I need to put it in the bag.
Yeah. So that is one of the ways that it's called period poverty. We also have a bigger problem with the schools, and we have kids who are going to school now, young girls, who are having their cycles at school and they don't have a product to use. Even though, as I mentioned, I go to a number of the schools and I do workshops with them, they would say, well, okay, it's been kept in the principal's office. But let's think about a little child, 7, 8 years, 9, coming to an adult and say, hi, miss, can I have a sanitary pad? So we have to start thinking about those young ones who are now coming into it, and it's like, let's make them feel comfortable that a period is normal, there's no stigmas with it, educating them from a young age. All the hygiene factors is not just about a pad or a tampon, is the whole cycle of how to wash the hands, how to keep your body hygienic during that time. What happens to the body when it changes with the period, the puberty. So it's just that the fund is just one part, and I would love to see what they're going to do, the different elements of how we could do proper hygiene management in schools across Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, Leela, you've been going to these schools.
Yes.
What is your experience like in some of these schools in Trinidad and Tobago?
I do from primary schools, some primary schools and some secondary schools. And they applaud me every time that I come to give them the hygiene part of it. Because yes, sometimes a doctor will come or a nurse will come or some company will come to just promote products, and that's about it. But I go down to the nitty-gritties of the waste management, how to dispose a used sanitary pad or tampon, washing of the hands, body hygiene. I mean, I went to a school in the Northeast recently, and the children there, some of them, they're not showering to come to school. That is a problem.
Wow.
No showering.
Is it because there's a water situation, or is that something that is common in their home?
I think it's something, probably it's common, it's twofold, but the teacher asked me specifically to speak to them about it. So hygiene is just not one part, it's an entire group of things that you have to look at, and it starts with the education. When I came into the industry, and I had my business 22 years now, one of my goals is to change the culture of hygiene. And my belief was to start with the youth, start with the young ones. Therefore, when you start with the young children, how to wash hands, the basic things. I mean, when the pandemic occurred, everybody started to wash hands and sanitize. It's like, wow, we now know how to do this thing. But really and truly, if we start changing the culture, we would not have a problem for illnesses. And it goes into the workplace. So, for example, I would ask my team, how many of you all wash their hand when you enter the building? And they would tell me they didn't. So I say, let's think. All the door handles you touch, from the vehicle to the gate outside to the entrance gate, let's think. And then you're going to sit at your desk, or you're going to have your breakfast without washing the hands. So starting with basic and enforcing it. Now, teachers can only do so much. Parents have a part and a big part to play in how they help their children become much more aware of hygiene factors.
I want to go back to what you said about students coming in without showering. You know, we live in the Caribbean.
Yes.
It's a big thing for us to shower.
Yes.
You know, as some people do it as often as they could, but at least twice a day. You know, when you get up in the morning and before you go to bed in the evening. Were you shocked when
I was taken aback and shocked.
Because I feel like I am.
Yes, and you know what? There were a couple of them when we asked them about hygiene factors and showering, and the kids literally raised their hand to say they didn't shower this morning. I'm like, what? I was shocked, totally. And then, you know, that's one of the many schools, right? Then we had another incident where there's a society inside of the school that help kids who are underprivileged, really underprivileged, who doesn't have the basic hygiene things like toothbrush and toothpaste to come to school. So they called me and I said, okay, I'm happy to get this to you all. And we went, we delivered it and everything. And we don't want to know who the kids are. We don't want a picture of them, but we give it to the department or the principal, and they know who the children, who the vulnerable, who need these things. So they were like they'd been bullied because it smelled so offensive. And let's face the reality, it's a hot country. These kids, 30, 40 of them in a classroom with no air conditioning, and fans maybe basic, whatever they have. So you can imagine the humidity. Then I went in to ask about showering, 1, 2, how often do you change your shirt? And then somebody will look at you and stares like, oh, am I supposed to change my shirt every day? Well, if you can't afford to do it, then you wash it. I mean, we grew up like that. We had 3 shirts, and you wash the shirt, and you make sure you had a clean one to go to school. And so this is what I'm saying. I think parents also need to take a hand on how their children go to school as well. Teachers has a role, everybody have a role in it to make sure that we up our game for hygiene. These same youths now who are not inculcated into hygiene come into the workplace and they bring this, their culture into the workplace, and they realize, oh, so somebody made a mess in the bathroom at the workplace because they didn't know what to do, or sprinkle up the sink with all the hands with the water and stuff like that. And you get complaints from customers. I mean, being in the hygiene industry, I've been exposed to so many things that general managers will tell you about what's going on with their staff. And I said, yes, you'll need to educate them, doing a simple hygiene workshop for them to let them know this is what is expected. So we have youths rolling out from the universities coming in. And the last thing they're thinking about is the hygiene aspect. So I think we could do more. So period poverty is one of them, but also the education of the importance of hygiene factors.
You know, it's quite interesting because I think we often take things for granted.
Correct.
And hygiene is something that is so important. It affects the way you operate during the day. Imagine not having water to shower and you have to go to school, and then you're being bullied because of that. And the breakout in terms of the mental toll it's going to take on that student.
Correct.
And you're already facing financial difficulty, you know. Leela, the announcement of the fund, how do you see that helping on the community level?
I think once there's a plan in place, a proper rollout plan on a needs base for access, you have like, I think they have something with I think it's the food. I don't want to say the wrong word, but I think for breakfast and lunch, children get some level of food and stuff like that, right? I don't know the correct name.
Yeah, it's school feeding
program. School feeding, right. So if they have a process like that, and they know that, okay, we have 20, 30 children that needs this accessibility every single month, something like that, the education part of it to roll out, I think that is what I think they should do. I would love if they call me on board to help them because of the experience that I have, and I can share my knowledge, and for them to help them to evaluate the different schools, whatever they need me to help them, I can be assistance to them.
Well, that would have been my next question, you know, how can your NGO help this new step that the government is going to take?
Well, as I say, management of accessibility, knowing how many kids need this, going to the different schools, getting the data. The data is important in finding. We would know it just like this. The schools have that information. They would have like a guidance officer or someone in the school who would know what is taking place. They know exactly which class, etc. And then after, they have to do a rollout plan, how this child is going to get accessibility. As I said now, it's not only pads or tampons, it's a hygiene problem we're also having. So yes, it started off with period poverty and waste disposal and management and stuff, but it's a bigger picture as well. And I mean, every time I go to schools, I'm getting different information about what is taking place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to how we can help in terms of rolling out, going to the various schools, getting the information. We have something called pads on your roll as well, which is convenient sanitary pads that can be installed inside of the toilets. So therefore, a young girl who's menstruating can go on and get easy access. She doesn't have to go and ask the principal or the guidance counselor for a pad when she's having a cycle. Now,
you know, you would have mentioned earlier, and I think we spoke about this the last time you were here. You said 7, 8, and 9-year-olds.
Yes, yes. We're having so many young girls having their cycles now. The last time I was here, we also spoke about that, and it's very alarming. And then some of the parents are not speaking to their children at a young age, and I think every mother or auntie or big sister should now start doing that. So at least from home, they are aware. I mean, I remember you said that your daughters already know.
Yeah, because they don't leave me alone.
Right, so they are aware. So
if I'm in the washroom, they're in the washroom.
Yeah, so you see, but I guess all kids don't have that privilege and opportunity to learn, you know, to see what their mothers are doing and stuff like that. I remember going to in Couva last year. A friend of mine was doing her store, and she was doing a back-to-school drive, and she invited me to come and do a talk. And there were 12-year-olds sitting there, and she was very quiet, very silent. It was the first time she was hearing about periods. And I went up to her, had a talk with her, and she said, "No, I don't know what is that."
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't want to delve too much because some things are personal.
Yeah.
I don't know who she lives with her parents or who she lives with, but she was like, first time I'm hearing about this. So we had to talk with her, explain to her what to expect for the first time having periods. I mean, there's so many stories about us girls having periods, what we expect. Some people didn't even know. Oh, they just shower and went back. It's like, oh, what is this happening to me, you know? So it's important for parents or guardians to take a role in functioning with the kids.
Okay.
At a young age, don't wait until they reach 10 and 12. Oh, they're not ready.
I know.
Yeah.
Which, again, is hard to believe, you know, that society has moved along so much in terms of social media and all these devices and the information you can now get at the touch of a finger.
Correct.
But yet, things you think people would know about, clearly, you know, there is the lack of, what is it? Lack of information, lack of education?
I think lack of education and also awareness, because like, okay, people may not want to go and scroll and look for periods. What is a period? What is menstruation? What is hygiene management? Because it's not in their radar, I guess. So they're not even bothered with it. Oh, my child isn't ready for that as yet. So I do have to look for that. But you have to become aware and make the child know this is what to expect. And also goes for boys as well, because breaking the stigmas is not just educating girls alone. The boys should also be aware what to expect, because they are the ones who are going to be future fathers, leaders of the country, etc. So if you start training your boys to know how to respect a young girl when she's having her periods, you know, and you know, I go to some of the co-ed schools and they will separate the boys from the girls. They can't have the discussion there. Oh no, you know. So that is as well need to be changed from a young age, not when we reach secondary school or something. From primary school, be aware of what is happening with your body. It's all human, you know, and kids supposed to know and don't laugh at each other, etc. I remember going to a school right in the east, and we gave them sanitary products, right? And the next time we reached back to our office, they were making a big fun of it, and they took the sanitary pads and stuck it all in the classroom. I'm like, okay. And these are boys and girls who are doing this. So it's like, come on, you know, this is time, effort that you put out into these programs for them. And it doesn't cost the school anything. This is by me and my team giving back to our community, which is in essence time. We give back to our community. And sometimes it's appreciated, sometimes it's not. You know?
You know, what I was going to ask before is about, as well, you spoke about the management. A lot of young girls would experience pains during their period pains. Is this a topic that you also deal with when you go to the schools?
Yes, because we talk about a little bit about the symptoms, how their body changes as well, because under Menstrual Hygiene Initiative, we would have done a program with them called Clarissa's World. And under Clarissa's World, it's a girl telling you about how her body changes. So we don't go very deep into it, but we talk to them about it, about the changes that you go, because guess what? The odor starts to get different. You start to get the puberty symptoms, and some children don't know why they're having boobs at this young age. And it's like, that is because of the hormones, etc. So we go through all those little things with them.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back in the day, way back in the day, when we would have had the talk in school, you know, guidance counselors coming in. Back then, it would not have been a guidance counselor, but it would have been someone from the ministry coming in. I can't remember if it was health or education to speak about period.
I remember it well for my one. It was a nurse that came from Johnson & Johnson. And after she explained it, I thought I was going to die and I would never want to have a period because it was so scary, you know. But now what we do, we use Baymax. Baymax is one of these nowadays, and bring in inclusion. So we use technology as well, show them the videos, we talk to them about periods. Nothing to be scared is about a bodily function, how you prepare yourself. Yes, they can get I think they use Panadol and stuff like that to ease their cramps, some hot teas, a shower, you know, refresh yourself, relax, etc. Yes, they get headaches. Yes, they feel depressed, because you know when you're having a period, how you can be miserable too.
Yes.
And then your classmate on the other hand nagging you, etc., and you're just irritated. You know, the 5-6 days you get irritated.
I will be honest. I'm one of those who never had period pains.
Oh, wow.
I was not moody. I grew up as one serious tomboy.
Wow, lucky you.
You would find me during the lunch period playing cricket with the boys on the field or doing some kind of sporting activity. That was me. And now it's changed though because of the perimenopause experience. But yeah, I've had my entire life, thank God, without period pains or the moodiness, the mood swings. However, I've had friends, you know, who would have to lie down for an entire day because they would get headaches, really bad pain, not be able to even function. And from that very young age, it started happening.
Yes, so again, I think some of the schools have a little sick bay that they put them into to relax. But I think in your period awareness campaign, whatever they're doing, all of these things should be taken into consideration of having a functioning young person to be able to function properly. So for example, like when I talk about the period pouches that we created for them, that should be able to have a pad, a tablet, a chocolate.
And you do have one here, right?
Yes, I do.
So you could show us what's in there?
Well, I just put some pads in it, right? But this is our shared dignity pouches that we created. And this is for the school children that we created. We created 1,000 of these.
Okay.
1,000 to give back to them. So inside of here, we put them with pads.
Right.
And what we advise, some of them, we put in things like an extra underwear, hand sanitizer, some toilet paper, a little soap or liquid soap inside of this, just in case that they go to the school, there's no water, or if their underwear is soiled, you have this pouch to keep with you. Yeah, so things like that can be placed inside here. It's designed very nice. And we did it basic. You know, they can loop it here, and they have it, and it's good material that they can have it for quite a while, even use it as a makeup bag.
Would you recommend panty shield liners for girls who would be having their period, you know, if they know it's coming and they wear that during the days leading up to it?
Yes, I would recommend that as well, just in case. And some girls do, because they told me, Miss, so some children came very prepared. They even pull out their little bags and they said, look, I have this. So I asked them, what do you have inside there? And they will tell me, and I said, well, okay, now you can add an extra underwear just in the event that you have a mishap, and you can take it with you. Okay.
Now, Leila, you do partner with an international organization, and I want to know what's the best practice in other countries in terms of period poverty and how that is dealt with in schools and the workplaces.
So we partner with Wash United, and they are the NGO out of Germany who initiated Menstrual Hygiene Day, and they started back in 2014, around there. And since in 2018, I'm the brand ambassador for MHD 2018 coming forward, right? And it's about bringing the awareness, the management, changing the way that people thought about periods, because you still hear things like you can't shower when you're having a period. You can't cook when you're having a period. Yes, in certain countries. So what
I was told, don't climb the tree, don't climb the plum tree.
Yes. So those are myths, all these myths.
Yeah.
Don't do this. And they had things like banishment huts in Nepal and stuff like that. So the number of countries still have it as taboo. So what MHD Wash United started doing is rolling out programs into various countries. Trinidad has been on the map since I took over the brand ambassador for them. So Trinidad's been on the map where we started coming out and talking about periods, talking of breaking the awareness, breaking that stigmas and that taboos associated with something that is natural to a girl, you know. So they have been doing a lot of work in Africa, in India, in China, places like the US, Australia, going into the schools and doing the same programs that I'm doing, similar things. But the nice thing about it, you get a lot of organization coming on board to support. So for example, I had a call On my last program with you, I had a call for people to help send products, and I must say thanks to all the people who sent products to us. Some people sent it via companies just came and dropped off a 10 case or 15 cases of sanitary pads, and we were able now to distribute that to girls in different schools. So we continued that drive because I had called for 1,000 packages of hygiene products, and there were a lot of people who came in and they just brought in things like deodorants, powder, toothbrushes, toothpaste, because this is what the children also need.
Yeah.
So aside from period poverty, we also have the hygiene aspect of it. Yeah.
Which you're reiterating.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask about the stigma attached to it and how this period poverty fund, this project which the government wants to start, do you think it will change that, or how can it change that, the stigma attached to the period?
I think it should change the stigma attached to it by way of education. So, and they are on the right track once you go into the schools and you're educating those kids. Because as I say, we want to have a cultural change, and we start with the youths. Now, the only problem is that sometimes when you go back, they learn one thing in school and then they go home to another. That's a different clashes that happens there culturally. So I think starting in the schools, rolling out programs for them, and it can't be once for the year. Once a year or the start of the school, I think it should be reiterated every term. Something like that, to just make reinforcement of what to do about periods. Remember, they might forget they start in September school, and then time they come back in January for the new term, they probably forget. And they'll say, no, miss, I know about it. Or keep just some reiteration. It's like maths, we always have to do it over and over until it comes like, oh, our society is 95% known about periods. We don't have any problems with period poverty or anything. Everybody's now aware.
You know, I was laughing in my mind when you said you students took the pads and stuck it all over the class, right? Because this change teenagers, those in school, that jokey mentality, not being serious about
education again.
Yeah.
It comes back down to let's change the narrative. Serious, I mean, the kids are immature, as you know. We are all mature in at that age. It's like, whatever, I don't need to know about that. Why are you telling me that? So you get, sometimes you get, when you go into the classroom, you get the very attentive ones who will ask you a million questions. And there's someone's like, well, I'm not interested in that. What you have me here for? And they give you that kind of responses. So we just have to keep pushing until it reinforcement is like, you know, how they say you have to police certain things.
Yes.
I think that is what it will need, policing. I'm happy to see other NGOs coming up and doing things. It's not a one-man show. It needs the whole country, and I've always said that I want to see government do things, and I'm happy to see that they're doing something, and I'm eagerly excited to see what will unfold for January 2026 with period poverty. The education part of it, how the management of it as well, because there's a management aspect that also lacks. For example, the sanitary bins, their lack of units for this. So sometimes what they do, we hear some kids say, well, I put it in my school bag and take it back home. I had to explain to them the correct way to dispose of the used ones, how to wash your hands before you change, and after. They weren't aware of that either. Do not flush it inside a toilet, because it's going to cause plumbing problem. It's going to cost thousands of dollars to get that. Then you're going to have a dysfunctional toilet. So you have to go through all of these steps with them. So the program is not just about a pad.
Yeah.
It's a holistic thing.
Yes.
Yeah, mental health as well. Because if you don't have a pad, or you're uneducated about period poverty, or it plays with your mind, and the bullying and everything.
Leila, thank you so much. We've run out of time. I know we could go on and on, but we've run out of time. Thank you so much for coming and sharing more with us on period poverty and, your thoughts on this recent announcement by the Finance Minister, Dave Tanku, that there will be a $5 million period poverty fund from January. The pilot is going to start in January 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Okay. That's it for Breaking Stereotypes. I'm your host, Christy Ramnarine.